Welcome to the Hidden Wealth Podcast. Today, we're diving into the world of equity crowdfunding. Joining me is an expert in this field. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jane. I'm excited to share my insights on this rapidly evolving space.
So, let's start with the basics. Can you explain equity crowdfunding in simple terms?
Equity crowdfunding is essentially a way for startups to raise capital by selling small stakes in their company to a large number of investors, usually through an online platform.
But that's really interesting. Like, how does this differ from traditional venture capital or angel investors?
Well, with equity crowdfunding, startups can raise money from many small investors, rather than relying on a few big ones. This helps them maintain control and avoid giving up too much equity.
I see. What are some benefits for investors who choose this route?
Investors get to be part of innovative startups from the ground up, with potential for significant returns. Plus, they can diversify their portfolios and support businesses they believe in.
That sounds appealing. But what about the risks? We've all heard stories about startups failing.
Yes, startups are inherently risky. Investors may not see returns for years or at all. And there's a lack of transparency and regulation in this space, which can leave investors vulnerable.
That's a good point. What advice would you give to investors considering equity crowdfunding?
Do your homework, research the startup thoroughly, and be aware of your risk tolerance. Only invest what you can afford to lose.
Sound advice. Can you give us some success stories, startups that have used equity crowdfunding to raise capital?
One notable example is Oculus VR. They raised $2.4 million through equity crowdfunding in 2013 and were later acquired by Facebook for $2 billion.
Wow, that's impressive. What's the future of equity crowdfunding look like?
I think it'll continue to grow as more people become aware of its potential. It's a game changer for startups and investors alike, providing new opportunities for innovation and growth.
Well, thank you for sharing your insights with us today. It's been enlightening to learn about the world of equity crowdfunding.
Thanks for having me, Jane. It's been a pleasure to share my knowledge with your listeners.